Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Uncommon Sense with Jose Negron. Now, for the benefit of those of you who are not familiar with this channel or watching this channel for the very first time, the reason why it is called Uncommon Sense, because here on this platform, we discuss everyday issues, but not everyone uses logic. So that reason, it is called Uncommon Sense. I want to let everybody know that I'm currently live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. As always, I want to give a huge shout out to all those who have already subscribed on the channel. Whether you have started subscribing to the channel at the beginning or within the last day or so, I really appreciate all the love and support that you reach. I also appreciate all those who follow me on social media. And I also want to give a huge shout out to all those who allow me to enter into your devices. So what I'm going to do, if you have not done so, I'm going to ask you to do the following. I'm going to ask you to subscribe, like, and hit the bell notification to all so therefore, whenever I do prepare content, you will have the opportunity to catch it live or catch it on the playback. So I apologize for the slightly late start, but the bottom line, we're here. And since the topic regarding how to end toxic relationship was so popular, we're going to have a part two. Okay. Now we're gonna be focusing more on how to end romantic toxic relationships, and sometimes they could be harder to do than others. Partly because there's a belief that we just should do whatever's necessary to heal our romantic relationships. And sometimes it could be hard to accept the fact that there are times when we have to let those toxic romantic relationships go, particularly if it's being counterproductive, particularly if all you two do is argue, fight, and carry on. Now, before I forget, I want to let everybody know that the subscriber mode is currently on. Meaning that if you have not subscribed to the channel, if you wish to enter a comment in the chat, you will need to subscribe. Okay. So that being said, let's get to the main topic. Okay. Now, we all have our toxic relationships, particularly when it comes to toxic romantic relationships. Of course, I have had my fill of it as well. Um, and of course, it could be very hard to accept the fact that you are in a romantic toxic relationship. And it can be very hard because we don't like to see anything die. Some of us will do whatever we can to try to save a relationship. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share an article that I came across. Hopefully, my computer will cooperate. Just give me a moment. And once, okay. Okay. Unfortunately, okay, here we are. Good. Now I came across this article. Um, 10 ways to end a toxic relationship. Okay. And it was written by John Patrick Hack. It was published on July the 20th of 2019. So let's go to the article. Okay. Well, before we get in, if you know someone who needs help for emotional or physical abuse, please call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-797-7223. Visit the website at www.hotline.com. Okay. Let's get something. A common mistake make is letting people stick around for far longer than they deserve. Toxic people will rather stop speaking to you than they're wrong. They do not thank you, compliment you, or listen to you, or give you credit. Whether a friend, partner, colleague, or family member, toxic people feel entitled to be disrespected, self-centered, or narcissistic, dishonest, insecure, abusive, blaming or demanding, and competitive. Sequencing, a licensed clinical uh, psychologist and neurotherapist based in Chicago. Okay. Understanding what type of toxic relationship you're in can help you to end it better. Okay. All right. Recognize that you're in a toxic relationship. Okay. Fran Walsh, the following 9 subtle signs of a toxic relationship. Number 1, they exhibit excessive charming and ingratiating behavior. Number 2, they use the silent treatment as a means of control. Number 3, they force you to mind read, and guess, then act vindictive when you are wrong. Number 4, they use poison delegation, asking you to do something for them, saying that they can't do it for themselves, but whatever you do is met with harsh criticism. 5, constantly correct you. 6, they lie to you. 7, they use projective identification. If there's something wrong, they will confirm justification for accusation. 8, they use sexual manipulation. And 9, they use the not to convince you they are to help you become a better person. But it is common being in a toxic relationship without being where toxic marriage or romantic frankly upset some said Lisa Marie. The reason why we're treating you this way is because you're not doing a good job. It's not just private. Okay. Number 2, look for patterns from childhood. This type of toxic relationship is the most common. Colston, a psychologist at the University of Sydney, is the parental bound from the child of your childhood upbringing fill the void your parents created. She says, maybe like your parents, they never make you the number one priority, always leaving you feeling like you need to work harder to gain their approval. But it's not necessarily a return to your parents. Releasing the past, it is possible for you to alter the way you look back at your parental patterns in a way that enables you to achieve romantic success, says Dr. Colston. Number 3, prepare your finances. Many relationships are toxic, including with family, remains toxic because of financial, because employed over those who have their own independence in financially and all aspects of their life. That means if in a couple of months or even a year when your finances get in shape before cutting the content, put your initial energy towards achieving that goal. Perspective of a third insightful friend to help someone understand they're not actually upload, says Dr. Bobby. If you suspect you're in a toxic relationship, the best thing you can do is find a healthy, supportive relationship with other people to help strengthen you, shift away from blaming yourself, and help you to start planning your escape strategy. This premise is reinforced by Dr. Carlson, who emphasized that an appropriate professional, such as a clinical therapist, psychologist, can help you learn to challenge and reshape your unhealthy core. Speak for yourself. This is number 5. Many of us ignore adverse behaviors simply to avoid confrontation or because using reason and rationale with someone irrational can prove futile. Speak up and say that you do not condone in California recommends using a quick comment. And if you're hurt, I hope the next time you will talk kindly to me, says Dr. Manley adds. We can't change toxic behavior in non-toxic people, but we can work on being less reactive. Interesting point of view. Number 6, create boundaries and stick to them. Some boundaries instant. It's an act of self-care. Most toxic people derive their influences because they prey on a PT if it's so in our role, psychology community college recommends putting verbal limits in place. For example, rather than allow a person to extensively vent their problem or opinions while you attempt transactions. You need to manage your social media relationship with the person too. We often fear because of potential backlash, but sometimes that's what it takes. You may want to make a clean blank by quickly stating that things are over and removing them from your social media and having no further contact with them, says Dr. Jackson. If you're not ready to recover from someone from social media, then you will have privacy options such as unfollow them or mute them, and they'll never have to know. Number 8, prepare for the counter strike. When it's clear to a toxic person that you're distancing yourself from them or cutting off the relationship, they may try to punish you by avoidance, or they will redouble their effort to keep the dynamic going. But when you will have to stick to your guns. If you deviate from this flow of the patient bothering less being, then the toxic subject needs you to, aka, you have your needs, rights, feelings, boundaries, things that are not gratifying to the toxic person. You will be punished. Says Dr. Bobby. Stay resolute in your plans and to extricate yourself. Number 9. If you cannot break ties, limit contact. There are certain necessary to toxic people, like toxic co-workers, a narcissistic boss, or sharing custody of with a toxic ex. They may choose to remain married to a toxic ex relationship alone that this will alone where they display custody. Says Dr. Bob. In such cases, it's best to minimize the toxic person's access to you and their ability to affect you. She adds, understanding that you will never feel loved or surprised by them and that they are not emotionally safe people in the world can be liberating in that you stop feeling upset or hurt when they behave the way they do. And number 10, try the gray rock method. If you have to be around the abuser, try to stay neutral and unemotional. Says Christine Scott Hudson, a marriage and family therapist in California. Abusers thrive on intensity, so making them itself as boring and uninteresting as possible can be a protective measure. And then Van der Linden, a clinical psychologist based in Australia, calls the response the Grey Rock method. The idea is that you keep your head down and blend in with your studying like a gray rock. That toxic person will move on to someone else to get what they need instead. And we got a pocket here. So in this article that I just said, there's some strategies on how to deal with toxic people, particularly when it comes to people toxic in a romantic environment. And I see here we have Irby. Good evening. Thank you very much for stopping by. Now, also, if anyone in the audience, if they've been in a toxic relationship and if they wish to share their experiences, they're more than welcome to share in the chat if they feel comfortable. If they don't feel comfortable, comfortable, then they don't have to. Okay, because sometimes it could be more difficult to share certain things, and we don't like to make people feel like they have to do anything. That's not our goal. Again, I recall um, I was in toxic relationships. It took a great deal of effort to get out. Again, because it's a situation, you don't want to give relationship to be salvaged. However, there are times when for your own well-being, you have to leave that relationship because you're not doing yourself any favors, and being in a toxic relationship where there is no chance of things getting better. Now, what I'm going to do is, okay, just give me a moment. Okay. Now, I'm going to read to you an article on a website called Choosing Therapy, and it was published August the 26th of last year. Okay. And of course, the article is called How to Leave a Toxic Relationship. Intimate relationships can go through ups and downs, but a toxic relationship is the one that constantly draining and distressing. Partners in a toxic relationship do not support each other and often display competitiveness and disrespect and try to undermine each other. If you are in a toxic relationship, it might be time to make a plan to leave. Um, okay. Now, let me just define to you what is a toxic relationship. Okay. On the surface, it might seem like a toxic relationship is easy to spot, but things can get very complicated when toxicity is tied to a romantic relationship. And I see here we have Don Armando. Good evening. Thank you very much for stopping by. And let me let everybody know and remind them that Don Armando has his own YouTube channel. So I'm going to ask that you please consider checking out his content. Okay. If this is the case, you might think you might be in a toxic relationship. It may be time to make some healthy changes. Okay. Now here's something to consider, which is toxic relationship versus abuse and domestic violence. Toxic relationships and abusive relationships can have some overlap, but there is a difference. In an abusive relationship, one partner is always control. A partner who is aware of their action and chooses the abusive behavior to show dominance and instinctive violence is an abusive partner who wants to maintain control over the other partner. It might start out as emotional abuse and become physical over time. Abusive relationships can be hard to recognize, but it's important to be aware of the cycles of abuse and different types of abuse outside of physical and emotional abuse, such as financial abuse or academic abuse. Toxic relationships that turn abusive can also use physical intimacy to perpetrate abuse using sexual coercion. In any of these relationships, there needs to be respect. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you the signs of a toxic relationship. Number one, constant unhappiness. If you feel sad, angry, anxious, or resigned to the relationship, Negative shifts in your mental health, personality, or self esteem can be red flags as well. These shifts can range from feeling on edge around your partner to clinically diagnosable conditions such as depression or anxiety. Number two, your partner has no other friends other than you. Relationships are stronger when both parties have friends and interests outside of each other. If your partner is possessive and discourages you from going out with friends, that is a red flag. Number three, your partner calls you names and criticizes you personally. Personal attacks and or devaluating someone's personality, values, or physical appearance are a hallmark sign that you are in a toxic relationship. Number four, your partner constantly texts you to check in. Staying in touch by sending silly memes or cute messages is positive. But a toxic partner will use texting to control you. This could include tracking your location, asking you to text back frequently, or take pictures to prove where you are. Number five, your friends or family hate your partner. How those you close to you feel about your partner is probably the most underrated yet most important sign of a toxic relationship. Pay close attention to what your loved ones tell you, and also if you feel like there are things that you can't tell them. Now we're going to get into why leaving a toxic relationship is so hard. Leaving a toxic relationship can be very hard because all emotional labor and time spent trying to make the relationship work. It can feel like an internal failure or that by leaving you are giving up on something you're invested in. While there are ways to turn a toxic relationship around, which involves a lot of emotional challenging work from both partners, it is important to acknowledge that not all toxic relationships can be saved. Our bodies and minds tend to like familiarity, and that can keep us in situations that are bad for our health. When there is no progress taking place, it might even become harder to leave as there are fewer ways to justify staying. Leaving can be difficult, but it's important to recognize all of the advantages of ending a toxic relationship and focusing on the new opportunity to find a relationship that will fulfill you. Now, here's something that's very crucial, and this is something that we all need to know: when to end a toxic relationship. People get stuck in relationship patterns that can be difficult to break out of, but excuse me, but if your relationship is toxic, it will become more damaged by you will toxic. You will become more damaged by staying in it. While relationship does not have to involve abuse for it to be considered toxic, or abusive relationships are toxic. Not all toxic relationships can or should be saved. However, any form of domestic abuse, whether it's physical, sexual, or emotional, should be an automatic relationship ender. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the tips for leaving a toxic relationship. It can be difficult to know where to start, even when you're motivated to leave a toxic relationship. Important to have a support system and find ways to boost your own self-esteem, even if you're stuck. It might be time to talk to a therapist for more support. Now, I'm going to share with you um, tips on how to leave a toxic relationship. Number one, build a support system. The feelings you experience after a toxic breakup are similar to any relationship. You will feel sad, conflicted, lovesick, relieved, conflicted, lovesick, depressed, and more. Leaving a toxic relationship is even more challenging if you have been financially dependent on your ex. But don't despair. Rather than focusing on why this will be hard, focus on building the support system you will need when you decide to leave. Research shows that family and friend support during the difficult times decreases psychological distress. Having a support system to lean on will make the transition easier for you. Number two, stay firm with your decision to leave. It's called a breakup because it is broken. If you're at the point of ending a relationship, you probably made attempts to get your partner to change their ways without success. If that is the case, you will need to remind yourself often that it is not your fault. Even if an abusive or toxic ex changes, abusive or toxic, it's likely due to the shock of the breakup. If you get your partner to get back together, the chances of returning to this toxic behavior is very high. Following through on leaving a toxic relationship will require in your decision. Number three, cut contact. It would be crucial for you to cut off all contact with your ex once the relationship has ended. Keeping in contact with an ex open the doors of getting back together. Toxic people can be emotionally manipulative and may use emotional blackmail to lure you back in. When you decide to leave your partner and end any form of communication with them unless you share children and need to co-parent. If that's the case, only communicate about the children. Now, when I divorced my ex-wife, I mean, I had to make a decision to sever all ties, meaning not make any attempt whatsoever to contact her, not allowing her to contact me, because if I did not do that, there's always the temptation to try to get back together to try to save a relationship that should have ended a long time ago. So it's very important to get out of a toxic relationship to sever all ties, with the exception if there are children involved, meaning that you're both parents. So in that case, the best thing you can do is try to limit your contact and focus on trying to be civil for the children. Number four, unfollow them on social media. Seeing your ex across social media will keep the memory of a relationship fresh. So it's crucial that you block them from your phone and find ways to avoid running into them in person. These actions set a clear boundary that a toxic relationship is over and help you to stop thinking about them altogether. Number five, know that you deserve better. Months or years of being verbally abused or never find anyone better can wear a person down. And you might start to believe it. But this is not true. Tearing down self-esteem and self-worth is a technique toxic partners use to keep their partner trapped in the relationship. Let I deserve better become your daily mantra by replacing negative beliefs about your self-worth with positive affirming ones. You'll need to move forward for your own mental and emotional well-being. Number six, seek professional help from a therapist. Depending on the level of seriousness, leaving a toxic relationship can require help in creating a game plan. Confiding in friends and family or finding a therapist to speak can be helpful as well. A good therapist can help you cope, rebuild your sense of self worth, and address any safety issues. A therapist can be unbiased resource to guide you and hold you accountable by creating goals and sticking to them. Number 7, keeping a journal of your emotions. Writing about your feelings and emotions might be the last thing you feel like doing. You might feel too tense to focus and worry about writing it down and make you feel worse. Expressive writing may help you feel more anxious, scared, or upset. But fast forward a few weeks, and the research shows that you'll become probably notice more mental and physical benefits, including fewer visits to the doctor, improved immune system, improved mood, better sense of well-being, and lower blood pressure. Number 8, make a detailed plan. If you decide to leave a toxic relationship, make sure to have a plan on how you will deal with the transition. If you don't currently have a career, you might consider going to school, getting a new training, or beginning a job. Financial independence is crucial to your freedom. Also, make clear regarding where you will move, which possessions you will take with you, etc. Number 9, surround yourself with positivity. Practice self care by surrounding yourself with positivity. Spend time with people who make you feel good. Treat yourself to your favorite meal. Engage with your faith community. Exercise and do the things that make you smile. People in toxic relationships need healing, a process that takes time. Being in a toxic relationship can cause an incalculable toxic stress, so it is essential to try to replace negative emotions with positive ones. Number 10, express your feelings. It is important to express your feelings to your partner when you have decided to leave. If your partner is emotionally mature, an in person conversation is best. However, if they are short tempered or emotional, writing them out your feelings may be less. It is important to express how your partner makes you feel without directing blame. Avoid phrases like, you make me feel, and instead express your feelings by saying, I feel very sad or angry when I hear you say, you can't control how the other person responds, but you can control how you express your feelings in an true way. Regardless of their response, expressing your feelings is the essential step in leaving a relationship. And I see here we also have um, the 18th letter. Good evening, Joaquin. Hopefully, you can share some insight on if you have been in a toxic relationship. Also, want to let everybody know that he too also has a YouTube channel. So I'm going to ask that you please consider checking out his content. Okay. Okay. Number 11, stick with your decision. After leaving a toxic relationship, it's normal to miss the person, remembering only the good times and forgetting the toxic parts. It can be tempting to want the person back in your life, but keep in mind that you came to the decision to leave at a long, thoughtful process and for concrete reasons. Reach out to your support system because they will keep you accountable to your decision. Also, review the reasons what led you to leave the toxic relationship. Stay strong and stick to your decision. Now, that's something that's very important. because if you're going to recover from being in a toxic relationship, you must be prepared to stick to that decision. Okay, and be mindful. You went through a great deal to arrive at that conclusion. Now we're going to be discussing how to get over a toxic relationship, which is something that we all need from time to time. The after effects of being in a toxic relationship can take a toll on your health, lead to depression, anxiety, and low self-esteem. It's important to take some time for yourself to reflect and recharge, to heal yourself from the negative effects of a toxic relationship. Follow these steps and you will move forward. Number one, focus on self love. It takes time to heal wounds, so give yourself the chance to prove that you are worthy of love and yourself, even on the darkest days, because only you can save yourself. Get back into the hobbies that you used to enjoy. Go on coffee dates with yourself because you don't need a partner to make yourself feel special. Number two, feel every emotion. And as overwhelming as they might be, it is essential to go through all the emotions through that come up after leaving a toxic relationship. You are allowed to cry and feel sad because these are normal human emotions. This might be a good opportunity to seek assistance from a therapist who can guide you and help you cope and restore your sense of self worth. Number three, and this is very important, and I see people that I know and love very much make this mistake. Don't jump into a relationship prematurely. Let me repeat what I just said. Don't jump into a new relationship prematurely. Give yourself time to heal before getting into a new relationship in order to avoid having a rebound. This is a crucial time to focus on introspection and analyze where you stand. It is also a good time to learn from your mistakes and to become clear about the type of relationship you want to invest your time in. Now, this is something that's very important. And I know someone that I've known for almost 30 years. And unfortunately, she had had the misfortune of leaving one relationship and before giving herself time to recover, getting into another relationship, that relationship and the cycle continues. The problem is when you do not allow yourself time to heal emotionally, what you are doing is the following. You're bringing your luggage, your issues into a new relationship, and what you're doing is you're poisoning it. And you create more wounds for yourself and for your partner. So it's very important not to get into any new relationship prematurely until you have been made whole emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Okay. Number four, remember, it's all right not to get closure. Moving on without getting closure can be difficult, but keep in mind that it is all temporary. Do not wait for an apology from a toxic partner. Instead, be the bigger person and let go of any bitterness you might be holding on to. A helpful tip is to fill the empty void and days with something more productive, such as a new hobby or new skills. This will keep your mind busy and distracted. Final thoughts. If you're dealing with issues in a toxic relationship, talking to a therapist can make a big difference in how you feel. If you're having difficulty coping or needing help creating boundaries, do not hesitate to reach out to a therapist. You deserve to be happy with your life, but also to make the leap. Now, what I've shared, um, it's something that's very, very, very important. You know, which is the key to identifying what is a toxic relationship. And you one of the most important things you have to do is cut all ties with your ex. Okay, the reason why it's an called an ex because it denotes that a relationship is over. Okay, and we must have the discipline needed in order to end any relationship that's not getting better. So that's something to bear in mind. And of course, when a relationship ends, there is a mourning process because you're grieving regarding the loss of someone that you value and important and you love and you treasure. However, you have to be mindful that you deserve to be healthy. You deserve to be healthy mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. You cannot do that if you are in the middle of a toxic relationship. And staying in a toxic relationship uh, will not improve things in any way, shape, or form. What it will do or make things worse. So, that being said, what we're going to do is, excuse me, just one moment. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a brief interlude, and then we will come back, and then I just want to let everybody know that the link to join the panel is in the chat. Okay, so we will return after a brief moment. I'm just going to play some music for the time being. And we are back, everybody. Now, for those of you who are just joining in, the topic for tonight is how to end toxic relationships, part two. So now we've been focusing on romantic toxic relationships, and they could be harder to to get out of due to the intense emotions that are involved. Also, we have to take into consideration the fact that we have invested a great deal of time and energy. So obviously, we don't want to so-called prematurely end the relationship, which can be safe. However, we must discern if a relationship that is toxic can it become healthy, or it will remain a toxic relationship. So that's the reason why uh, I gave the definition of a toxic relationship and what are some things to look forward to and be mindful of. And of course, at certain times in the year, it's even harder to break up certain relationships, such as around Valentine's Day or the holidays. However, you have to love yourself to the extent that you cannot allow yourself to remain in a relationship that's not getting anywhere, where it's robbing your peace, when it's causing you constant conflicts. Okay. And one thing to be mindful, if the person that you are involved with truly cares about you, truly loves you, truly values you, then sooner or later they will take a look at their conduct and see, well, okay, I see I'm doing this wrong, I'm doing that wrong. And then we'll have the maturity needed to take appropriate course of actions, whether it be not saying the things that are hurtful, whether it be not doing the things that they're hurtful, or simply not repeating the same conduct. Toxic people will never take accountability for their actions. Let me repeat, toxic people will never take accountability for their actions. And the reason behind that is simply because they're not the problem. The other person is the problem. Okay. If the other person just simply do what they insist that they should do, things would be better. That's a sign of a toxic relationship. Now, I've been in my share of toxic relationships. Okay. And it can be difficult to come to realization that you're in a toxic relationship. And no matter how hard you try, the conduct is going to continue. So for that reason, you have to love yourself to the extent that you realize that you are in an healthy relationship and you must end it. So that being said, of course, you do need to develop a support group. It could be family, it could be friends, it could be if you belong to a place of worship. And by all means, don't be embarrassed to seek professional help. And when I mean professional, I am referring to a therapist. Okay. Now, I have also discussed in another stream regarding seeking a qualified therapist. Now, in your search, you need to be mindful and you need to be explicit regarding what was the set of circumstances that led you to seek therapy. In this case, you need to fully understand why the conditions in your relationship are toxic and what to do to get out of it. So I see that there's 5 people currently in viewing this stream. So the link is there if anyone wishes to join the panel. Also, if anyone wishes to express a comment, they can do so. If no one expresses a comment or no one chooses to click the link and join the panel, I will wrap it up. Okay. And then what I will do is I'll take advantage to get some sleep. Because some of you may be aware, I have been doing a lot of overtime um, this past few weeks. So tonight I don't have to work. I'm going to take care of myself and make sure I get some sleep on my own bed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the link on for a few more minutes. I'll keep the string on for a few more minutes. If no one else joins the panel, I will wrap it up. Okay. While I am writing, let me just discuss with you. Um, okay. Now, this Saturday, yes, Saturday, at 6 p.m., uh, I'm going to be having a topic called Uncommon Sense. Um, Let the circus be the circus. And people are probably wondering, what does that mean? Okay. In our surroundings, in our paths that we take, we deal with people who act immaturely. We deal with people who act irresponsibly. We deal with people who are toxic. So we're going to be talking about it. I'm going to do my best not to mention any examples because I don't want to give these people any shine regarding let the circus be the circus. Now, this Saturday is going to be a unique situation because not only will I share an episode of Uncommon Sense at 6 o'clock, I'm also going to share an episode of Golden Spear at 4 o'clock. Okay. So I'm going to be talking about, let me see. Let's see. Because the first topic, okay, last week talk was talking about dating the inner you. Um, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna be talking about improving your self-image on golden spirit folk. Now, for the benefit of those of you who may not be familiar, I also have a second channel which I have created called Golden Spear Folk. Okay. Now, the purpose of that channel is to discuss issues pertaining to biracial and multiracial people. And I see here we have a guest. So, before I continue, let me just state that the views of those who appear on the panel are not necessarily those of the host nor the channel. Any attempt to copy material without the consent of the host is prohibited. By appearing on the call, you waive your right to see your image. Some of the views that people may hold may be considered offensive to some people. If you do not like the content, you can block the channel. And let's bring in our guest. Good evening.
Hello there, Don Jose. How you doing?
Okay, fine. How you?
Oh, I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. I mean, it's a bit of a overly chilly weather for me, but but I'm doing all right. Dealing with sleet, if you can believe that, down here. So, but aside from that, it's all right. It's all right. I can handle it.
So, so in other words, it's like in the upper 30s.
It's a little lower than that. It's like on the mid 20s. But it's not that's not so much the problem. It's
Oh,
the sleep. No, 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 no. Don't go. Oh, don't go. Oh, no, don't do that. Don't do that. It's in the mid 20s, and we're dealing with sleep, which I hate. Because if it were only in the mid 20s, then I could bundle up enough and put enough layers of clothing on top of me so I don't get sick because of it. That's one thing. But dealing with sleep, not being able to move around, I hate that. That makes it bad. That really makes it bad. Now I really hate it. So don't be
so you're
celebrating.
dealing
Don't
with
be
some springtime
celebrating.
weather over
No, don't. No, 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 no.
there.
Springtime. That will be when it goes back to like the 60s and the 70s. That will be springtime weather. Right now, I'm dealing with Arctic weather. I mean,
No,
and all that. Yeah, yeah. It's in the 20s. That to me is Arctic weather.
well, no. You see, to me, that's springtime.
No, 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 no. Don't get it. No, don't give me that. So yeah, but aside from that,
So,
what's do you? Mhm.
okay, actually, this is a continuation of last week's stream regarding how to
Yes.
deal with toxic relationships within the realm of romantic relationships.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Lately, we are seeing that too much. That whole thing about the whole toxic thing, because the thing is when it comes to calling something toxic, that word gets thrown around so much. When something gets thrown around so much, it loses its meaning. It you start to question what do they actually mean, because toxic is toxic. There should be only one meaning to that. Um, but it gets thrown around so much that one can forget what something actually means, right? And anything for me toxic will be something that disturbs my peace, something that disturbs my kind of like my mental health, me being able to be myself, something that takes me out of who I really am. And I couldn't do it. I mean, the last time I dealt with something like that, that was like back in 2006, something like that. I guess you could say that I was in a situation that could be considered toxic. but it's something that, and only there was that instance, and there was another instance, but that was like 6 7 years before that, and with in a relation, me being in a couple of relationships that I were in which I was dealing with, there was a lot of arguing and there was a lot of stress, and that's what I would consider toxic, I guess.
Yeah.
The thing is that it wasn't healthy. It wasn't healthy. It will take me out of my sense of peace. It will take me out of me being able to find some quiet in the relationship, because one being in a relationship, it should it should be about one being able to be at peace with it. If you can't be at peace with it, then no, it's not good for you. It's not something that you have to deal with. It's not something that you should be even contemplating. But yeah, there are apparently too many people, especially these days, and in very public ways, where people get caught up in what is considered toxic, arguing, fighting, I mean, putting hands on each other. And no, that's not good. That's not good. I mean, it's not gonna end up well. It never does. That's how I look at it. Hmm.
Yeah. Well, the last time I was in a toxic romantic relationship, it was 10 years ago when I was married. And,
Yeah.
it got very messy emotionally. And,
Hmm.
we did try, I mean, well, okay, maybe, to save the marriage because I made a commitment, to be faithful, to death do us part. Unfortunately, my ex-wife made it virtually impossible for me, and I'm sure I made
Hmm.
things difficult for her as well, because she takes two people to have an argument. It's just that it got to the point where it was going nowhere, and unfortunately, I had to make a decision to sever all ties with my ex-wife.
Yeah. 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 I mean, and there were those two situations that I had to deal with, but we're talking about well over 10 years ago. And but the more recent one may have been about something like about 9 years ago when I was living in Mississippi. That was another one that it was really wasn't toxic, but it was like very, not, I wouldn't say that bipolar on her part, but she wouldn't know what she wanted. And the last time that I interacted with her, she, she tried to set me up. She tried to set me up to get in trouble. I mean, claiming that I had forced myself on her physically, which was a total lie. And unfortunately, nothing happened to it because the police did their job and they asked her questions and they quickly figured out that she was full of shit. I mean, she was straight up lying. So nothing happened to me. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's difficult. It's difficult to trust. It's difficult to trust certain somebodies when it comes to the dating scene because I mean they can be manipulative. They can have attitude issues, not necessarily bipolar. That's something that a lot of people throw that term around, being bipolar, but no, not being bipolar. It's using attitude as a manipulation tool. That's something that I had to deal with. And something that we say,
Yeah.
maybe you have heard it. Uh-huh. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm
Go
listening.
ahead.
No, and when it comes to dealing with things like that, you may have heard
No,
this
but
expression from back home, but that says it's better to be alone than to be in bad company. I would rather be alone then. I'm gonna be having to deal with drama and
yes.
shit.
Yeah, that is so true. That is so true because it takes a strong person to be able to accept being alone when they are in a toxic relationship because, considering the time and the energy we spend, and of course, we always believe that, you know, it is worth saving, even though the other partner is not doing their part to try to rectify this situation because it does take two people the
Yeah.
if there's any of the ladies if any ladies that are watching this, if they want to join in the panel, by all means, the link is there. I don't want to make it sound like we're being anti-female, and because both men and women can be toxic. Unfortunately, it
No,
seems
I
so.
mean,
Unfortunately, we hear this all the time by many women talking about they end the relationship because the guy was toxic. Whether the guy was toxic or maybe the guy was trying to correct their behavior.
oh no, Jose, you can say that. You can say that. You can say that because a man trying to bring some correction to a situation. No, I mean the men are always in the wrong. I mean, it's always the man's fault. The man is always in the wrong. The man is always the abusive one. Uh-huh. I mean, we're living in a time where the rates of who starts a domestic abuse situation, the rates between men and women are actually level. They're actually similar, not the same,
Yeah.
but fairly similar. So there are women that can be abusive too. Men can be abusing, of
Yes.
course. Nobody's saying that it isn't, but there are women, particularly today, that are kind of like catching up with the levels of abuse, and men have to be wary. Men also have to look out for that. I mean, the first signs, not to tolerate anything. I mean, men have to be strict, have to be firm, not to allow those first signs, the first little signs of disrespect, have to be checked, nipped it in the bud right then and there. Because if it's not done, it's only gonna get worse. You know what I'm saying? You have to establish that respect early on. Early
You
on.
know what? I agree with you 100%. But of course,
Hmm.
we all know that with the modern women, they're never wrong. They're always perfect. They don't need to. They no need to regulate themselves. You know, they're the
Yeah.
prize. They're the table. They're the chair. They're the sofa and everything.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, they're the plates, they're the rug that is sitting that the table is sitting on top of. Yeah. Okay.
Now, now, of course, you know that most of the divorces are initiated by women.
Oh no, don't say that. Oof, oof, you can't say that. It's at around the 70% mark, yes. But what they will tell you is because the man is so abusive that they have to leave. That they have to leave the relationship because every single one of these women that initiated the divorces were being abused. That's what they're gonna tell you.
Or it could be that the man is trying to correct it and they don't accept correction.
No, 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 but that's not what is happening. No, no, no. Every single one of these women of the women that initiates a divorce, because they're being victimized so bad. Every single one of these women are married to Ike Turner. You know who Ike Turner was, right? Every single one of these
Yes,
women.
I am aware.
Yeah.
But you see, yeah, but you see, Ramon, this is uncommon sense, okay? Where this
Hmm.
is where logic rules. So
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
but we all, but we all know that women initiate the most divorces. We all know that. And if people don't like hearing it, well, you know what? The link is in the chat and explain to us where we're wrong. Or
No,
else,
I know. I'm positive. I'm positive there are a couple of the ladies listening, but they go, they don't want to come up. Come on, ladies, come on up. Tell us how we're wrong.
yes. Yes, ladies, explain, share with us why us poor, pathetic male figures of the hierarchy are so incorrect.
Yeah, yeah, because we have to be incorrect because of all this because of all this patriarchy and all of this toxic masculinity. Uh, and all of this misogyny, because those are the three favorite terms that is used against us by the feminists. Not all women, of course, but by the feminists. It's this misogyny, patriarchy, toxic masculinity.
Of course, we must define, okay, there's feminism in its original form, which was to create equal rights and things of that nature. And then there's radical feminism. So we must make a
Hmm.
distinction between the two.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no. We're talking about the radical feminists that actually believe that the world would be better if all of us men are killed off. There are women that actually think like that. I mean, and hashtag kill all
But
men. That's an actual hashtag on Twitter that doesn't get taken down. It doesn't get taken down because apparently that kind of talk is okay. It's allowed. It tells you something about what we're dealing with.
but if but the fact that matters, Ramon, if you give it to all the men, that means you have no bridges, you have no buildings, you have no infrastructure, because you don't see women doing these jobs.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. No, of course, of course.
But ladies,
But
by
but
all
it does but it
means,
does yeah, but it does bother me. It does bother me that in the social media age, in the society that we live in, I mean, all of that talk about eliminating or maliciously wounding men is seen as funny. It's seen as acceptable. It's seen as funny. Nobody can say anything. Of course, we can't use that kind of humor with women. That's unacceptable. But if we're talking about either the killing or malicious wounding of men, that's seen as humorous, funny, comedic. That's what we're dealing with.
okay. But you know what's humorous, Ramon? When a woman
Mhm.
reaches her 50s, never got married because she was too toxic.
Oh no, but that's when they start saying, "No, I have been alone all this time, and I have been remain single by choice." That's when they start telling themselves that everybody knows that it's garbage, but they will tell themselves that. So okay, they're always right. They're always right. They always have to win the argument.
Yeah, but you know the problem, the reason why they said that because they have to say that because their egos are so bruised that that there's no man that will be a simp for them.
Yeah, well, that's the wall for you. That's the wall. I mean, when men stop simping, that's when you see them all over TikTok crying, crying because they're not getting attention anymore.
Yes, this
Uh,
yeah,
uh, yeah.
because these same women that want to be boss chicks, they want to be manly women. Now they're getting upset because no men approach them. Then now they're getting upset because they are alone. Now they're getting upset because men are actually choosing their options and not to deal with these women. Or they're seeking abroad to find an appropriate spouse.
Yeah. Yes. Well, is there gonna be? if they're going to be going to seek a spouse, an actual spouse, an actual significant other, that's perfectly fine. There is a demographic of men that have been doing that for decades already. We have talked about it. So if it's done properly, okay, that's fine. That's fine. Just don't use it as an excuse to then try to try to make women over here look bad, kind of like throw them under the bus or something, or be all over social media, um, making the wrong impression by going to these other women in these other countries, showing putting a camera in their faces and asking them inappropriate questions, and that's how you can end up getting in trouble. The thing is that the when it comes to that, there was the whole controversy, if you can call it that, with the kid, with the young man that was in Brazil, that he ended up having to leave. He didn't have to leave just because he was a black American. That's not what it was. There was more to it. I mean, I have reason to believe that there was like a little bit. I don't know if I might be using the word conspiracy properly, but it was kind of like an international thing. I do believe that there were certain forces in place that kind of like put him on the spot, put the spotlight on it. And we know that there was a feminist down there in Brazil that reported him to the authorities. That's why he had to leave. I don't think that his mere presence, I don't think was the problem. It was maybe those videos that he was putting on social media, they may have been used as an excuse. Um, but there was kind of like, I do believe that there may have been a bit of a conspiracy there. I mean, there was um, an activity by more than one person. I mean,
Um, yeah, excuse me, Ramon. Let us welcome our friend Jojo. Good evening, sir.
Hey Ramon, hey Jose, how are you
hey,
doing?
Giorgio, what's going on?
No, nothing much. Though. I was just overhearing some of the stuff that you guys were talking about, and I thought I'd just interject my 2 cents. So,
Yes.
bottom line is that a man is just going to get very turned off if his woman is trying to wear the pants in a relationship. That's going
Hmm.
to translate into an automatic breakup or divorce. By the way, that's just another. Just as much as women think that men who are broke are a turn off. Well, a woman who's trying to micromanage a man is going to be likewise a turnoff too. So we have a mutual transaction in that respect. So then that's just where we should just kind of revert back to our rightful roles, our respective roles, and just be normal. Play like the traditional roles, and that's how like a relationship is going to become very fruitful. But it's not going to be fruitful with a narcissistic man or a narcissistic woman or somebody trying to control one another.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you.
Um, okay.
Hey,
Good
Team
evening,
Flutter, it's
Rakim.
been a while. Hey,
Hey, how you fellas doing today? Shout out to my YouTube dad, Jose Negron. Shout out to my boy, the introvert Boricua, and shout out to yourself, Jojo. How you been?
What's going
fabulous.
on? Going on, Rakim? What's happening?
Nothing much, guys. Work never stops. Always money to be made. As long as that's a possibility, then I'm trying to get it.
Yes, yes. I mean, are you having any weather issues up there? Because I mean,
Yeah,
I'm dealing with sleet down here, and I'm having difficulty moving around.
yeah. I heard it was kind of icy in Texas and Oklahoma.
Yeah.
It's snow here in the Illinois area, and then the further I went yesterday because I was in Milwaukee, and it was
Mm-hmm.
even colder in Wisconsin. It was much colder than
Yeah.
Wisconsin.
Yeah. I don't know how you do it. I mean, I don't know how you can how
Well,
you deal with that. I mean, I would have been already with hypothermia, but I don't want to get into the weather talk because you know how Jose gets. So
Yes, yes, yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, but when it comes to the subject, I mean, maybe that is something that you wanted to add to it.
Yeah, it's how to end toxic relationships is quite
Hmm.
simple. The only people that involve themselves in toxicity are people that are either used to that person's toxicity, like it could be primarily a family member or something, or just a broken person that's attracted to that type of behavior. Once you, if you're a person that's sure of yourself and you realize that a person is possibly damaging having them around, then you just simply, you can have a conversation with that person as time goes on. If you don't see that person's behavior improve as an adult, that's something that's easy to do. If it's close friends that you grew up with, you try to work with those people and try to help those people out. But once you see those people are like, they're just generally attracted to negative energy and being miserable, you have to drift yourself away because you have to continue to remain focused on what you need to do to be able to make sure that you know, get your accomplishments in your life, to make sure that you're living a fairly, decent life. And having that type of energy around and that person around can either make you lose focus and take you down a path that you never intended to go, and it can, pretty much put you in a position where you start questioning, how did I even get here? And that's a person that you don't want around. And sometimes it's more difficult to disassociate yourself with people like that because they can be family members. There's somebody's
Hmm.
energy that you can be used to that you never understood that was toxic because you grew up around it for so long. And sometimes we are even told to accept toxicity or be shamed into, dealing with toxicity when it comes to relatives or family members and different things like that. And I'll say that's a no-no for both. Me personally, uh, when you look at a toxic person, and this words get used so much, but it's cliche kind of, but a narcissistic person or a person that gaslights you, it can be a parent, it can be a aunt, a relative, anybody. You have to really detach yourself from those type of people, and you have
Hmm.
to detach yourself fast, otherwise you'll end up being like those people. I have relatives in my family now that I know that are toxic, and every once in a while I see them, hey, how you doing? But for the most part, I'm not around to deal with them, so it makes it a lot more easier for me, out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, yeah.
okay. Um, I just want to acknowledge the fact that the future is golden is in the chat, and also she has her own YouTube. So I'm gonna ask you to please check out her content. Also, the introvert Pericua has his own YouTube channel. Our has his YouTube channel, and of course, our friend Jojo has his own YouTube channel. So I would encourage all you to check out all their content and subscribe to their channels.
Greatly appreciate that, Jose. We all
Yeah,
appreciate
thanks
the
for the
shout out.
plug.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate that, Jose. Thank you very much.
Well, the fact of the matter is we're all small creators. So therefore, it doesn't hurt to show a little love and a little acknowledgement to follow, positive YouTube creators like yourselves, and also the future is golden and Don Armando.
I'm subscribed to everybody in the chat and on this panel.
Oh man, thanks a
Cool.
lot, Jojo. I really appreciate it, man.
Yeah,
Um,
likewise.
yeah, so like that's, and I mean, we can all say based off of what we've seen on the internet, it's like the heart of toxicity because you're dealing with a lot of miserable people that are finally get a chance to get their voice heard. And yeah, and you can tell how one thing you can say about the internet is that it has exposed people toxicity and how people truly think, because a lot of the times you can get away with saying a lot on the internet without it really being consequences in real life. So therefore, a lot of people just go to town, and we've seen a lot of people be irrational. We've seen a lot of people be argumentative, and we've seen a lot of people that have hidden agendas while trying to pretty much put a mask over how they truly feel about certain situations.
Can I say
Yeah.
something about that, Rakim?
Yeah, go
Yeah,
on.
go right ahead,
uh,
Jojo.
uh, yeah, for sure. So, as far as like people knowing that maybe they could get away with saying stuff here on YouTube that they otherwise wouldn't probably say to your face in real life, I wouldn't underestimate people who are like that, or I wouldn't underestimate, like the person on the receiving end, like the one who is just receiving basically the shit talking, if I should put it bluntly, because that person could end up flying over to you, or they could live near you, and then when they confront you in real life, it's going to be a whole different story. I've seen that go down. Even a guy who used to trash talk me 5 years ago, I confronted him in real life, only for him to basically chicken out. So, like, what happened to the big bad wolf persona?
Yeah, exactly. Like it's easier to do that, and that's why I try to carry myself online the same way I would carry myself in person, the same way as my boy Ramon. We're just regular people, and we just
Yes.
try to, we try to rationalize with people, and certain people just don't want to hear it. I grew up in a rough area, growing up, and I've seen violence. I've seen how far things can go into a different direction. And usually it was always the ones that was the most quiet, that was the most dangerous, and usually ones that was the loudest. Some people that were loud would back it up, but some people that was the loudest would try to be loud for a scare tactic. So I've seen a lot of that, man, and I just try to pretty much carry myself the same way I would have a conversation with someone, that I would have a conversation with someone in person. And a lot of the times too, it's certain people that rile certain people up. If you get on a panel with certain other people who would be different if they're on the panel by themselves, if they got some backup or they're backed up by the chat, that will cause them to be, a little bit more, a little bit more, show a little bit more bravado when it comes to what they're saying, whether that be, a lot of the times negative, you know, negativity that
Exactly.
they're spewing.
Yeah, and I love how you
Oh,
use the word like bravado though, because that's precisely what it is, man. It's just false bravery until that person confronts you in real life. But I never let things escalate like that because I am not like that. I don't even have an arrest record. And the guy from like a few years ago, he just came around unexpectedly, only for him to just act a little bit scared by my presence, which confused me because he was just putting on such a big and bad persona on the internet. But kind of like you, I just try to reason with everybody, irrespective of their shortcomings.
Yes, mental shortcomings. I didn't realize there was so many people in here, out here in this world that lack comprehension skills of being able to, rationalize certain things. And it's a lot. It's a whole lot. And it's people that'll twist your words. It's people that'll, try to out yell you and over talk you and all types of stuff. And it don't really become worth it because you can pretty much see who's invisible and who's not. I'm pretty sure a lot of us, all of us on this panel, are doing decent in life. You know, us having intelligence and common sense has gotten us far. You know, and for certain people, a lot of the times a lot of the, a lot of these people just get away with, you know, having negative energy because a lot of people haven't held them accountable. So that's what we're dealing with, and that just escalates to the internet. And some content creators doesn't make it any better because a lot of the times too is hidden agendas that they have within their messages, and it's just to spread as much toxicity as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And you see how many people are followers and sheep because how many people just get on board without actually doing research to certain things that person is saying and allowing themselves to be manipulated for cash apps and super chats. and it's
Oh,
funny.
we know a couple of them.
yeah.
We know a couple of examples of the
Oh yeah,
people
we
that have
know we
large
know that.
followings.
I'm not gonna say names, so I've seen that.
Yeah, yeah, and
I,
I
I'm,
know
I'm, I'm,
most.
I mean, it's funny, right? When you talk about gaslighting and everything like that, right? It's like, and you could actually, and you was actually there for maybe most of it. 18. I in certain chat spots, right? I said I'm Dominican and Kiddushin, right? So it goes to comprehension that a person will just will just only listen to half of what I said, and then they go with it, try to outtalk a person and stuff, so they could have their point. And then, which is funny is that certain people they want to say that they have a dream about something, when the fact is, it can never be facts. Like for example, let's just say I told everybody, "Hey, you know what? I think I'm gonna be the boss of the Empire State Building." And and George Washington came into my dream and said I could shake up the country. Now, tell that to um, people who are psychologists, professors, and everything like that. And what will be the response? Pure laughter.
Well,
But you know
depends on who
something.
you consult. Hmm.
But you know something, Don Armando. One thing I've seen is that we have seen a great deal of false bravado. It's very easy to be brave when you're sitting behind a keyboard and you go blah 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 blah. Okay, it's another thing when you person live. And the fact of the matter is, unfortunately, YouTube is notorious for bringing out the toxic people, and we've seen it on multiple platforms.
Oh yes, I mean, like, I guess a little bit this year, somebody went up and you know they said something, I guess, toxic or whatsoever. So since I don't really have time with that, it's I went on a blocking spree. So they could talk about me or anything, but one thing for sure, I'm the wrong person to dox. Because if a person, I'm just saying this, if a person were to actually try to dox me, I mean, what can you really do? You're like, oh, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. Okay, so therefore, you people will try to will have like a false sense of power. But if a person is so quote unquote bold to go and try to dox somebody, my thing is that you have people that will be doxing everybody on the internet, right? I want to see with all these
Hmm.
internet doxers, right? If they have some hand skills. Like if I'm serious. If you have if these doxers, right, have some hand skills, we're not talking about one-on-one street fight. Just go to the gym. I want to see if you got really boxing skills. It's instead of Twitter fingers. Until then, you could talk about, oh, I'm going to dox you all you want, but then you see certain people that they're, oh, I'm going to do this, whatever. They don't even know how to dox if they were to even save their lives. So it just it just it just crap on top of crap when you're dealing with certain people. That's what I've seen.
Well, our friend Denise coined a phrase which is appropriate. Let the circus be the circus. My new catchphrase for this year. Okay. And what is the circus? We're dealing with those individuals that, for whatever reason, um, they have mental issues. they spaz out when they get confronted with the facts. They get upset when they called to account for their act, what have you, and then they get all butthurt.
Yep.
Speaking
No,
of Don Armando, well, I mean, as far as like doxing though, I mean that is a huge thing, like on YouTube and even just on any other social media. But I wonder whether they would actually have the audacity to show up to your place.
oh, let them. I
Well,
mean, if somebody's trying to show up to my place, they find out where I'm at, where I live, or something like that. Okay, look, I'm a peace-loving person, but I do keep my head on a swivel, and I do keep my means of self-protection with me at all times. So, hey, I,
well, I
I,
get there.
I,
That's
don't-
it,
I,
but
Me, I'm just gonna say this: if a person really wants to come to find out where I live at or anything like that, I got ebony and ivory. That's all I gotta say.
well, Don, well, anybody want to come over here with that? Good luck, because look, it's loaded. So, guys, want to come here?
I think
This will be ready
I
for you.
think I think you spoke. I think you spoke for all of us on that one, Jojo.
yeah, yeah. I didn't
Yeah.
want to. I didn't want to get
It is locked.
specific.
It is locked and loaded. And yes, and if I will do that, and I will not feel bad about it at all. I'll just go about my
Exactly.
business and just set that
I
as a
would
warning.
say I would say that
Yeah, I
we
have
will
to.
both be having regrets. We
Yeah,
will
I'll
both be
have to.
having regrets.
In order for me to get that, I'll have to do certain stuff, and then I'll get that. So I'm not gonna go around and say what it is, but I have to do certain stuff in order for me to get that.
That's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah. Well, I, I,
And there
I
are
recommend
cameras out
I
too.
recommend
So
that
good
you do
luck.
that. that- I recommend that you do that as soon as you can, because things are getting kind of crazy. I mean, and
Yes. Yes.
we can't
Yeah, it
really
is.
we can't really count on the police like that to respond, because it's not like in the cop shows where somebody is in trouble and they appear like instantaneously and they say
No, no,
that, hey,
no, no,
that's
no.
on
Not
TV.
not
That's not
talking
real
about
life.
that. Talking about that, right? I was in the gym and I was with two old guys, former boxer and a boxing coach, and a
Mhm.
guy that that was his friend. So while I was in the gym and we were actually having a conversation, and this is pertains to the city of Philadelphia. While everybody was saying like, okay, yeah, we have all these cops and everything like that, patrolling or whatsoever the case may be. What they were saying is that the real deal is that some of these cops it's only like, well, people say it's 50,000, it's only like 33,000, and only like 12,000 on the street. So well, that means that most of the new cops that they hire is not even how should I say, really protecting anything, because they're actually on the desk doing duty. They're actually on desk duty or something like that, and they don't know how to actually be in the field and stuff. And that
Yeah,
and
administration.
when it's funny when all the crime that be happening in Philadelphia, people getting shot over dumb stuff and people robbing. It's to the point that it's so crazy in Philadelphia, right? I don't know if, like, okay, in Market Street in Philadelphia, right? There used to be a couple Wawas and everything like that. But ever since the bums keep robbing them and everything like that, they closed a Rite Aid, they closed a CVS. Maybe it might have been a COVID or what, I don't know. But they closed the CVS, they closed another Wawa, they closed another Wawa, and they closed and now all the stores that they might have like that they're still open, they actually have to have security like you was actually going to a club. That's
Yeah.
how that's how how shall I say, it is out here in Philadelphia, and the fiends are not making it any better.
I remember seeing a news clip of kind of like a convenience store owned by a East Indian, and he had to have armed security with guns, with visible guns like pistol caliber carbines, to guard
Hmm.
the place so they wouldn't rob the place. I don't have a problem with that. I mean, you're trying to protect your business. I mean, having
I
protected.
don't have a problem with that either. But it's just that I'm just saying, like when I first came out here in Philadelphia with my own wife, right? There was places that you could actually walk to, and you was like, okay, you could enjoy it, like pre-pandemic, right? But
Mm,
then after the pandemic and everything, it's like everybody. I'm not gonna say every place, but it seems that certain places, when you're talking about like the Wawas, or like say if you want to just go and grab something to like certain stuff that you just want to get for the house or something like that, like cream or whatever. Like around the most metropolitan strip where you see a whole bunch of people that where business is supposed to be bustling, all these stores have to close down. And I'm like, okay, so what will happen for like the visitors and tourism when somebody might need to go and get something from the hotel or something like that, eh, outside the hotel, and there's nothing there. You get what I'm trying to say?
mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
So it's like at the end of the day, I'm just saying that people could go and try to talk about Democrats and Republicans and all this partisan separation, but guess what? All this partisan separation and all that other stuff, it's just to the point that I'm like, we just need to get our ish together. That's all I got to say. And neither party is helping. That's all I got to say.
Well, like I said before, the reality is this: that YouTube is a magnet for all these toxic people to appear. I mean, and we are seeing it on multiple platforms. And it's just that it is unfortunate that YouTube does not insist that people be sound mentally before they create their channel. I mean, you see certain individuals, they keep talking about the same talking points multiple times. I mean, it's like if you see one string on Monday, the same topic is going to be discussed Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and so on and so forth. It generates, they don't have lives. They have nothing successful going on. So of course, that's what it does. It creates that mentality is that woe is me, I'm okay, and everyone needs to bow down to what I say.
It's not even that. But then on top of it, and we all could agree on something. You have certain people, right? I don't know where this philosophy came from or anything like that, but everybody in this whole entire world want to call themselves alphas, sigmas, betas. The last time I checked, I wasn't a wolf. So what happened to just being a man?
Yeah, Don, that's a simple way to put this. Like you said, a man is a man. Period. You know, whether you may look at the man as weak or whatever, a man is a man. If you feel that you're an alpha, you don't have to say that because your actions will show it.
And and,
So
and, and and another thing is that alphas
Exactly.
don't lie.
no, it's no reason for you to there's no reason for you to have to feel like you gotta flex on somebody or make it seem that you got to show somebody up. A lot of this stuff, especially when you see the whole alpha thing, especially like in different parts of like the manosphere and different things like that, all of that and these so-called relationship gurus, all of that was just marketing schemes to be able to get subscribers and to be able to get cash apps and super chats and sell their BS courses in their Patreon. That's all that was, and a lot of people took it and ran with it because a lot of people were eager for that type of advice. You know, a man is a man, and and you don't really have to. You can tell in a person's actions who you're dealing with, and that's quite simple. And also another way to spot toxic people too is that they're very long-winded. On a lot of these panels, they long-winded. They want to take over the panel. They never get a chance to let you finish when you're speaking before they're over talking you and trying to yell you to death. And that's another way to really spot them. Those guys that's insecure with themselves, all they go off is their identity. I'm this, I'm that. Okay, yeah, I can tell you this and you that, but what else is it to you as a man? And a
Exactly. I
lot of
mean,
people and a lot of people can't tell you that because they need their identity because they have nothing else.
unlike me personally, it's like this. When it comes to identity and everything like that, right? And for the people that they follow my social media or whatsoever, or have met me in person, one thing that I have to say, right, is that with the social media experience or whatever, at the end of the day, this is what I'm just gonna do. 2023, the only panels that anybody's going to see me on is going to be Don Jose's, Radicals, and my own, and maybe Xtina if she has a stream or something, or maybe Ramon. But this year, I'm just gonna actually work on my own channel because it's like at the end of the day, I'm trying to do certain things, and when I do go to the Dominican Republic, I'm going to link up with a friend of mine that I've met, and she knows my family, and my family kind of know her. So if I get like my right equipment, like in February or March or whatever, before I go to the Dominican Republic, I'm trying to actually work like on maybe a mini documentary or whatsoever, because when it comes to certain people groups or whatsoever the case may be, and that a lot of stories haven't been heard. My goal is to try to at least project that story, because a lot of the people that I personally know are actually passing away or whatsoever. So I just want to at least uh, capture some of the stories or memories that I've had or whatsoever, and then try to put it on YouTube at least. Well, unless Tyler Perry picks it up or something like that, but that's another story.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds interesting.
Yeah, I know that I have to do some work on my channel because I'm always kind of like involved in something else, kind of like real life stuff, and I'm not putting as much work as I could on the channel. I do have a couple of ideas for live streams that's gonna be coming up soon, so I'm gonna make sure to let you guys know so you can participate.
Hey, to my boy Ramon, you're not the only one, bro. I'm the
Yeah,
same way.
yeah,
we
you've
have,
been a while with you that you
yeah,
that you haven't done a stream. I mean, I
yeah,
know, get that money as much as you can, but I mean, still
Yo,
not
yo, yo, yo,
a,
not for
yeah.
nothing. Like now, since I got certain programs within my laptop and everything like that, if y'all need a logo stuff, I'll do it free of charge.
Oh, thanks a lot, Don. I
Oh,
really appreciate
appreciate
that,
it.
brother. Thanks.
We're gonna be in touch about that definitely. That
Yeah,
sounds good.
If anything, most of y'all got my two Instagrams, so
yeah.
we just talk about it.
And well,
Yes.
some good news on my end with my state. I wanted to rely to my boy Ramon. They've put a temporary ban on the AR-15s as far as they've suspended that ban temporarily. for right now across the whole state.
We need to do a live stream on that on my old channel, continuing with the my self protection series. We need to
Yeah.
talk about that. But that was only in Chicago. That was kind of like a state, a judicial state, something like that.
Yeah, well, you know how it is with a lot of these major cities. What goes on in the biggest
Hmm.
city of that state actually dictates what goes on in the rest of the state. So believe it or not, like with you know Democrats having a chokehold on Chicago, um,
Yeah.
it affected the whole state of Illinois to the point some of these diehard Republicans that live in the wilderness, they wanted Chicago to become its own state. So like,
Uh, yeah. They didn't want that. They didn't want those regulations to affect them. I can understand that. I can understand that. I
Yo,
mean,
yo,
it's like
yo,
what I was
yo,
mentioning.
yo,
What I was mentioning. Uh huh.
all right, my bad. I was gonna ask the Rakim, is Beetlejuice still there?
yes.
Uh,
Lori Lightfoot is still the mayor. The elections are getting ready to come up. um, but I really don't know how it's going to pan out. But truth be told, like when it comes to political corruption within the city of
I'm,
Chicago, it's
yeah.
definitely one of the most corrupt
I mean,
cities.
I mean, me personally, right? I'm just saying, as the cadence and demeanor of certain politicians, the ones who are like responsible and everything like that, doesn't have to be white, black, or anything like that. I could actually say that she is one of the most vulgar and unprofessional politician I've ever seen, next to Donald Trump. But
You know what?
that
Sometimes I think they try to use a strategy to make themselves more relatable to the public, but it just ends up being cringe sometimes. But yeah. I mean, like, cause what's going on right now? But like, she wasn't the first poor mayor, man. Like, a lot of people they love Mayor Daley, but Mayor Daley he comes from a long line of gangsters. His father was a gangster, Mayor Daley Senior. He had ties to the mob and everything. So, like,
mm,
it's always been. And then we've got like what 3 or 4 governors that's been to prison for corruption. They found out about different brackets that in politics that was controlled by the mob. Like the mob, they had control with certain DMVs where they was giving out CDLs for like $100.
word,
Like
that was short enough
yeah,
right there.
yeah,
yeah,
the
yeah.
Chicago's
Like
always been a big mob hub. I mean, it's not just New
yeah,
York. Yeah, Chicago's
nah,
big.
yep,
Yeah, has a big. I don't know if they still have a big presence in Chicago, but historically, yeah.
yep,
But not for nothing. And there's only Rakim that could only say this since he's a Chicago native. And this how you know that I'm kind of tapped in, kind of, and never been to Chicago. Is it true that most of the street organizations in Chicago all don't refer to themselves as gangs? They always refer to themselves as a mob.
yeah. That's true. Or nation. Yeah, that's true. Well,
No,
you
no,
like
no,
you. I
because
mean,
is too has a kind of like it's too negative. The connotation is too negative to call it gangs. The groups are always gonna be calling something else. They call themselves something else. I mean, kind of like like you said, the kind of like a group organization, something else. They're not gonna call themselves a gang. That's too much
yeah,
of a
and
criminal connotation. Mhm.
yes, absolutely. And also, when you look at the culture of here versus LA, you know, Chicago street organizations move like the based off of the blueprint that they learned from the mafia and early European gangsters that had control of this city. So it wasn't like what you would see in LA with movies like Colors or different things like that. It was hierarchies. It was, violations, top rankings and literature and different things like that. And that was something that both, you know, African American and Hispanics learned from the European gangsters who pretty much had cultivated the culture of the city as far as
Mhm.
crime and different things like that go. So they followed that same blueprint when it came to, different, street mobs and different things like that that they were involved in. The street organizations or gangs that most people would say wasn't like Bloods and Crips in LA. They was ran like Fortune 500 companies.
Exactly.
Nobody could do whatever they wanted to do without it being consequences. You would seriously get hurt if you stepped out of line and you
Hmm.
went against the leadership. It was definite consequences. For instance, I can remember growing up with certain organizations that was in my neighborhood. If violated the laws and different things of whatever organization you was with, this particular nation, let's say you did something, they found out you were a rapist or you was involved in, assault on children and different things like that. They had a violation that was called a PhD. In my neighborhood, it was called Pumpkinhead Deluxe, which means you will be beat till your head swelled like a pumpkin and your mother wouldn't even recognize me anymore.
Damn.
That's how severe it was. It was called a Pumpkinhead Deluxe. Um, I only knew of one person that was in my area that had received that type of violation, and he was in the hospital for, I think, what was it, 3 weeks or something like that.
Mm.
And and they had a tight knit on the neighborhoods, and a lot of these guys, they weren't stupid. They weren't like today. These guys was very, even if you want to say street educated, they was not idiots. They were not idiots. A lot of them knew how to run, whoever was underneath them, and they was a lot of them was cool as long as you was cool with them. You wasn't on no foolishness, anything like that. They were cool with you. I know a lot of people try to paint, because I grew up in these areas, so a lot of people try to paint that everything is violent and nobody has no morals or code of ethics and different things like that. At that time, it was a different time, and everybody that's
Exactly.
in the streets is not a violent, cruel person. Some people are stuck in a situation. They found themselves on the opposite end of things, and they're trying to get out. So, when people, say those things, they don't really know what they're saying. They just
And
trying to
and
paint
and
it.
and the thing is, though, the person or persons that I'm tapped in with, there was like when it goes to our organization. Let's say if a person is of a rival organization, right? And this how the person broke it down. If people had in certain organizations or mobs, I should say, if there's rules that they're like, okay, let's say you're of this organization and that other person of the organization, even though that certain organizations are rivals, you're not one person is not to go, like say the rival organization is not sanctioned to go around and get at your family member, and the other rival organization is not sanctioned to get at you because there's certain rules to that. So
Yeah, when I was growing up as a kid, from what I saw back in the '90s, yes, it was like that. If you did that without permission, it would be severe consequences. From what I saw growing up, as far as the people that was in my area that I grew up around, it would be severe consequences because even though these people was nations and doing their thing, the bottom line was always money, and that's where, like I say, it was kind of different from LA because the number one priority was money. And if it was a war, usually it was over money and it was over blocks that, made tons of money in illegal activity. So that's pretty much how it went. Like if it wasn't, if it was gonna mess up the money, a lot of people would calm down, even though they were rivals. They were like, "You stay in your area, we stay in ours," because police is combing this whole area and it's affecting all of our money. So,
Yeah, it's making the block hot,
yep, exactly.
basically.
My boy Ramon, yep, making it very,
Right.
very hot. And
As
when it's
right,
war, it's no money to be made.
right. Okay, so one thing I gotta ask, and I know I may be asking a lot. According to you, I'm not talking about news outlets or anything like that. From what you have seen, people, people they have passed away or whatsoever like that. When did it start? People disrespecting the dead, kicking over candles, etc. Like in your eyes, when did that start?
That started in the new generation around 2011. Once drill music became hot and they started, dissing their rivals in drill music. But from what I've known from the old ways of doing things, that was already gone because this newer generation of kids that were involved in these organizations, they're no longer organizations anymore because prior to that, in the 90s and in the early 2000s, most of these organizations and nations were hit with RICO laws. And when they were hit with the RICO laws that fractured the leadership, everybody was out for self, the ones that was remaining, and it birthed, what you would call these renegade factions and groups of the younger generation who didn't respect anything or anybody. And that's what we're dealing with today. Kids that didn't have any guidance, they're coming out of single parent homes where more than likely they have emotional issues because they're raised by their mother. And a lot of the times their mother did not do a decent job at raising them. So therefore, not only do they have these emotional issues, but a chip on their shoulder and something to prove. And a lot of the times they go out and they take it out on another young man that looks like them. And this is where it goes to. It turns from having a fist fight to somebody feeling embarrassed to somebody going back and getting a firearm, leading that person, and then it sparks a war between, and a lot of the times, kids that went to school together, certain kids that were once good friends, and it turns into um, like beef between different blocks that end up escalating over the years and multiple deletions on both sides. And, that's put in a lot of this drill music. And in the beginning, it wasn't like that with the drill music, but when it started blowing up and people saw that certain artists was able to make a profit off of it, you know how it is with young kids. They're very impressionable and they have sheep-like mentality, so they're going to follow what they think the next person is doing so they can become hot. And a lot of this music is nothing but self-destruction. It's nothing but, you know, negativity and what's going on in the streets. They're putting it in the music because it sells. And they were able to, get known off of it. And the ones that was able to make it out, made it out, such as like people like Chief Keef and Lil Durk and um, you know, G Herbo and a few other those guys. But there's been a lot of deaths for people that didn't make it out. So
Yo, I saw a clip. Now it was on Reddit, right? And there was a guy that I guess he was in the streets and everything like that. When they showed that young man's body on Reddit, I was like, OMG, bro. It was just like the worst thing you could actually see. But I guess that's normal. Shit.
yeah,
And
because one of the biggest things here, like we all know, unfortunately, like with a lot of these kids back then, it was when I was growing up, it was fist fights. For you to have a firearm, it was usually it was a situation where it was a lot of the older guys involved. When I mean older guys like 20, 21, 22, people like that had the firearms. But now with firearm technology advancing and the advancement of extended mags and more
Guns.
red dots, green dots, blue dots, um, and the fact that even though we're a liberal state, we're next to a Republican state, which is Indiana. So a lot of people go get guns out of Indiana. A lot of people hit freight trains that's on their way to Indiana, where you know, firearm companies like Ruger or Smith and Wesson or FN have, will send it, and get those whole packages, and they sell them on the street. And these kids have, we're talking about young, emotional, immature, not that, not rational children carrying around, 30 round magazines or 50 round drum magazines with switches and everything else. So it's a mess, man. It's a mess because once the genie is out the bottle, it's very hard to put it back in, and
All
that's
right,
what
but
we're dealing with.
all right, but as far as switches are illegal, right?
Yes,
It's a heavy. They're heavily controlled. They're heavily regulated. I don't know in which conditions you can have those legally. Maybe if you are kind of like a manufacturer, somebody who has a license to manufacture machine guns, then maybe then you can put together a block with a switch on the at the end of the slide and be okay legally. But outside of that, no, no. I mean, those little switches that you can add to the block slides. Uh, Nobody, no civilian can really have those unless having special licenses because you can, that's a felony having those.
yes, yes, and that's a federal crime. You're looking at federal time happening, and
Yeah, yeah,
it,
because it turns a handgun into a little machine gun, kind of like what the little Uzis used to be. That's what those switches do to blocks. They turn them into little machine guns.
absolutely, and you have kids that'll take that. Not only will they turn it into a little machine gun, but then they'll take a 50 round drum, like a Pro
Hmm.
Mag 50 round drum, and put that on there, whatever hand firearm that they have. So now you pretty much, like what Ramon said, you got a mini machine firearm with a 50 round drum that's attached to it. No difference than a large submachine gun, except that one is more compact and they're not controllable, but they're meant
No,
to.
no, that's to spray. It's a novelty. They're cool to spray bullets around in a controlled environment, but they don't have like a real practical use. I mean, that's what kind of like a real submachine gun is for, where you can actually uh, run it properly using both hands. But a block with a switch, you're just spraying bullets and hitting all kinds of innocent people with it because they're hard to control. That's true. Hmm.
And now it's even gotten so worse that with the 3D printing firearms, they're 3D printing switches now, which
Oh, 3D printing switch. Oh shit.
Wow.
Uh,
what can you
3D
really
printing
do?
switches. Oh
Yeah,
god damn. That's gonna be a problem. I mean, there are people that are gonna be taking risks trying to download those files, and that's something that can be traced by the government. They're gonna be taking those risks. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to feel about the switches because of that, because of the lack of controllability. I mean, it's a different thing if you're using a longer gun, a submachine gun, an actual long gun that you can keep keep under control. But putting that on a blog, it's like it sprays everywhere. I mean, it's too dangerous. I don't know what to feel about those. Hmm.
Yeah, because they even gotten to the point, and they're uncontrollable on 9 millimeter, and they're putting them on 10 millimeter and like different things. You're not gonna be able to.
I don't want to be. I don't want to be
Yeah,
in that vicinity.
you're not gonna be able
Nah,
to control.
not like when I was growing up, right in the Bronx, it was very rare that you. I'm not saying that it wasn't, but it was very rare if you had an AK-47, and if people knew you had an AK-47, they was not messing with you.
Hmm.
Now everybody got Dracos, and depends on what areas you're at, like in the East Coast, you got people are just going around and they just doing what they got to do. If you got an AK-47, if you got a Draco, you got an AR-15,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, but the
then
Draco, the Draco is basically an AK-47, but smaller, but more compact. That's basically what a Draco is. It's the same thing. But they're kind of like a novelty. It's a novelty item because the the micro Dracos that are very popular with the street kids. It has a 7.5-inch barrel or something like that. That's not very practical. That's not very practical because you can't really aim that right and can't really control it right because it's so small and you're firing an intermediate rifle caliber out of it. I mean, on
It's
such
not.
a short barrel, it's
It's
not
not meant to
not.
come out of
Yeah,
barrel.
yeah, yeah. It's something to make a lot of noise with, but it doesn't have like a real practical use. They're cool, but
now you want to know what would be messed up, and that's how you know that it would get real. Imagine if all these street kids, I'm just saying, it might happen like in 30 years down the line.
Mhm.
Imagine if all these street kids went up and they was roaming with Barrett 50 mags. That will be a straight messy
Well,
war zone.
yeah. Well. I mean, a barrel. That's something that's not something to shoot people. That's something that you use to shoot down a helicopter or something like that. So that's like extreme overkill.
Right.
Trying to shoot people with a barrel. That's something that you use to shoot down a helicopter or a small plane or bust up the engine of a car. That's what that is used for, actually. Using that to shoot at a person like that, that's extreme overkill. But I don't know. I don't know. Things keep getting so crazy like that. Eventually, somebody can get a hold of a fucking Barrett rifle and start trying to shoot people with it from a distance because there are sniper long range
Yeah.
rifles that do use the Barrett, the 50 caliber, that 50 caliber
Mm.
um, to hunt, but to shoot at a person, but from a distance. That's something that you can shoot at a person from a mile away if you have a good enough scope. I mean, that's from a long distance because they have a very flat trajectory with that caliber when they're used as a sniper caliber. Yeah. But but it being common on the streets, that really will be a state of emergency because it will be messed up. But yeah, one can imagine. Really want to imagine because it's messed up. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I don't even
yeah.
think they even know how to use it. You have to
Well,
find some place you can mount that.
yeah, because it's not so. It's something that weighs like over 20 pounds. I mean, not anybody can just carry it around and aim it like any other like any other um rifle. I mean, that's something that you have to put it down on the floor and shoot it from the prone position because those things are rather heavy. You can't just shoot it like you would shoot an AR-15, which is very
Mhm.
lightweight. Yeah. yeah. But
All right, but talking about AK-47s, right?
yeah.
All right. I know that in the US you have the Russian made AK-47s, and
Mhm,
then like all over the world you have like maybe the Ukrainian or
mhm.
Chinese variants or whatever the case may be,
Yes,
or all the other former Soviet Union variants of the AK-47.
yes.
So my thing is that since AK-47s is Soviet made or how should I say communist made or whatsoever,
Mhm.
how would you, I'm just saying for a regular American citizen, how would you know that you have the real McCoy?
Okay, if are you talking about from which country? Because I mean, the Russian AKs, they're gonna have markings that are gonna say something about either each mash or each Bex. It's gonna tell you something. You're gonna have certain markings that you can confirm the authenticity of the firearm. About the maybe where it was made. There are different markings, stamps, certain numbers, something with a serial number that will lead you into knowing which year was it made, and things like that. Or for example, if you can find a Chinese made from back in the day, I'm talking about from back in the day, which are very valuable, very rare, very valuable, like something from the 1980s or something like that, or like from the early 90s, that are very valuable and very well made, very quality. Of course, they're not making them like that today, but they're gonna have certain markings like the factory markings that you can confirm the authenticity of the firearm. It's all in the markings. It's all in the riveting, because there are certain rivets that are located in certain places, that are unique to a certain uh, to the AK manufacturing process of a certain country. I mean, I recommend that you watch a YouTube channel from Brandon Herrera. Brandon Herrera is like a gun manufacturer who specializes in AK-47s, and he does videos in which he gives the rundown on things that have to do with the different nationalities, because it wasn't just Russia, it wasn't just the Soviet Union. When the Soviet Union made the first AKs, but then they exported the technical data to produce AK rifles to the sympathizers of the communist cause, and these other countries that will make their own AKs. There are Serbians, there are Bulgarians, there are uh, of course the Chinese.
Yugoslavians.
Yugoslavia is what is now Serbia. I mean, so there are.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because the Yugoslavia per se doesn't exist, but there is Serbia now, and the Sastava brand that is very popular here in the States is from there. But there are like I think Albanian AKs also, of course the Chinese, when they were allied, but they had a fallout, but they still made their own AKs for a time, and they were quality until like the 1980s. After that, they started to become shit. And but there are different manufacturers, and the better AKs tend to be the ones that are imported, not the ones that are made from scratch here in the States, because those have a reputation of not being very good. They have gotten better, from what I understand, when it comes to quality control, but understand that anything that is made over here, they're trying to make as much money as possible. They're not maybe worrying so much about the quality control. So someone who's very patriotic and hears me saying this might get offended by that. But I do recommend something that comes from some of the um, what was called the Soviet bloc countries. Also, there are the Polish. There are Polish AKs that are kind of like the more affordable ones. I don't know. I don't know if I will go with one of those. They may be good, but
like the hell pump.
there is the help up. Yeah, but there are from different nationalities with varying levels of quality. I mean, now the Czech Republic was part of the Soviet Union, but they have their own rifle that looks like an AK, but it's not an AK. Look at the BC-58. It's a rifle that looks like an AK, but it's not really because they wanted to do their own thing. They managed to do that. Yeah, but they don't shoot the same caliber. Yeah.
So what? So my thing is that okay with the guns and stuff. I know that there was like all right that I guess during like maybe the 40s, 50s, and 60s, everybody had like they had to go through NATO, like, and then they talking about NATO rounds and everything like that. Can
Mhm.
anybody elaborate on that?
Okay, the NATO rounds, we're talking about the typical NATO rounds will be for pistol, that will be 9 millimeter. When it comes to intermediate cartridge, that will be kind of like the 223 556 that is used in the AR-15 rifle. That will be intermediate. Now, long range, the more long range caliber, that will be the what is called the 308, which is the 7.62 by 51. That's like that's a 7.62 caliber, but more powerful because that is the 7.62 by 39, which is the one that is used in the AK rifle. But there is the 7.62 by 51. That's NATO. That's a NATO caliber, even though the bullet itself is very much alike with the 7.62 Soviet, which is the AK the AK caliber. Now I don't know if there is another caliber that is NATO. I don't know which other one could be it, but my understanding is that those are the big three. If there are any other, I can't recall it by memory, but I know that 9 millimeter, also called Luger, also called Parabellum. The the 223 556, that's also NATO from what I understand, and the 7.62 by 51, which is also called 308. 308. That's also NATO. But those are kind of like Western Europe and the United States. Those are the ones that use that.
All right, because I've been seeing a lot of documentaries, and it was like okay, like it was like I don't know if they call it UN or whatever, but the thing is though, there was like certain organizations which are in Belize, which I'm not gonna name. They actually they were actually getting at each other with grenades. I was like, wow, they're getting at each other with grenades, which is I guess left over from NATO or the UN or whatever.
Hmm.
And
You are talking
you,
about the conflict? You are talking about the whole thing in the Ukraine?
oh no, I'm talking
Oh,
about
okay.
nah. This is way before the Ukraine. I'm talking about that these street organizations in Belize.
Ah, oh, okay.
They were getting at each other. I don't know if you call them NATO grenades or UN grenades, but they were actually straight up throwing it at each other and just getting at each other with those.
I understand that there are certain hand grenades that can actually be owned legally in the United States, of course. There are special permits having a license to own destructive devices that allow for people to own a hand grenade. I mean, I wouldn't want one of those. But yeah, there are certain very, very special circumstances in which somebody can own a hand grenade. Now, the people can also make Molotov cocktails. That's made using household stuff, a glass bottle with a rack coming out of it. But a hand grenade is something that, under specific circumstances, they can be owned because it's a destructive device, and there is paperwork that can be filled out for owning destructive devices. Now, I don't know about a grenade launcher because a grenade launcher does military stuff, real military stuff, but they can be found, I guess, on the black market. And there is a black market of guns, as we all know. That's where all of these street guys get their stuff. I mean, you can prohibit. They can prohibit guns all they want for civilians and for people that are law abiding, but there is gonna be a street market, a black market for guns. I mean, people are gonna find them there. That's where the street dudes get theirs. They get whatever they want.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Hey guys, I'm gonna get ready to take off.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure chopping it up with you guys. I'll definitely have to make sure I join next stream. Shout out to my YouTube dad, Jose. And once again, if you're dealing with toxicity, just try to cut it off as quick as you can. It can become like a cancer.
Oh
Start
yeah.
growing on you,
Oh yeah.
growing on you till
And if you can, Rakim, just stop. I'm gonna have a stream tomorrow, so come on through as well. I'll
all
send you
right.
the link on IG.
Okay, you fellas take it easy. Shout out to
All right,
Yeah,
Jose.
you too. You too.
All right.
you
Easy out
too.
there. All right.
All right. I'm about to head out because I gotta work. So thank you for having me on your panel, Don Jose. It was nice talking to you, Ramon.
Yeah, you too.
I'm gonna have my stream like around I'll say 7:30 or so. So stay tuned if y'all can.
Sure thing. Sure thing. All right.
All right.
Don Jose. I know that we were kind of like took over your stream a little bit. My bad, my bad. I mean, it's just that the combo was flowing. So, Don Jose, you might be muted. So, let me see. Yeah, Don Jose, I can't hear you. I don't know if you're there. Maybe you need to unmute yourself. All right. So one last thing that I might be able to add into the subject, like Rakim was saying, uh, we can talk about all of these things that have to do with toxicity in relationships and all, but something that has to be considered is that, hey, if the relationship is not going so well, you do have to take yourself out of that situation. I know it may not be easy. I know it is something that maybe somebody can have has invested themselves a lot into that situation, that relationship. They're trying to make things work. I know from experience because I was kind of like that. Even if the relationship wasn't that great, I wanted to work things out, and maybe that was kind of like more of a sim phase in which I was willing to take on the BS that comes sometimes in relationships. I know that I have dealt with. I have changed. I had to rebuild myself as a man many years ago when I was dealing with all of that. I know the experience that I had in which I had to deal with relationships that were not the best. That I wasn't happy. I was trying to make it better. I was trying to change it for the better. I wasn't happy because I had given up all the power. I had given up all of the presence. I had given all the power to her, and that was my mistake. And those were younger man mistakes that I made, and I strongly urge anybody if you're hearing this, as a man, always stay in your power in the relationship. You are the man. You are the captain of the ship. I mean, and you get with your woman. Of course, you consider your woman. You respect the woman that you're with, and you listen to her input. You listen to what she has to say. But she has to understand that you, as the man, you are the leader. You are the leader. Notice that I'm not using the word submission because I know that the women get triggered a lot with the whole thing about the word submission. But the woman, those need to follow your lead. And when it comes to the whole thing about submission, I may do a short live stream about that soon because that's something that I've been having in my mind about submission. My take on it. I know that the Don Jose. I think that you are on now. Uh, I think that you have talked about it, but I would like to give my take. It's a little bit of a different perspective, but Don Jose, you're muted. You're back.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's just that I'm not gonna lie. All the overtime is starting to catch up on me. So luckily, I'm not working tonight. Oh, I'm not doing overtime tonight.
Oh, okay. You're gonna be able to get some rest. I mean, it's been busy the last few days, huh?
Yeah,
Okay,
it has
okay.
been
No,
very.
no.
It has been very busy.
I can imagine. I can imagine. It's been difficult. And yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm hearing that you're having the situations. I'm hoping that you are not having too much trouble being able to manage the situation with the migrants, and they can be situated in a position that is humane at least, but they're not being left out in the cold, literally. So I really hope that things are working out okay when it comes to the migrant issue because I'm seeing it being kind of like blasted in other platforms and it being told to you guys, this is what you get, and you're accommodating migrants in these hotels, and now they don't want to leave the hotels, and there are other people that are using that to kind of like rag on you guys in New York. No, well, I wouldn't do that, but I do hope that the migrant situation is under control and people are being situated in humane conditions where uh, things can be worked out as to what's going to happen next with them.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna stop to wrap this off because I need to get some sleep. Um, so,
Yes,
what are your thoughts regarding the topic, which was how to end toxic relationships, part two?
yes, yeah, definitely. I mean, Rakim basically summed it up. I mean, toxic situations with a significant other is something that you don't wanna stay there and take that in. I mean, because I have learned that if it's not something that is gonna complement my sense of peace, then I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't care how fine the woman looks and all of that. If she's not gonna complement my sense of peace, I would rather stay alone. That's how I look at it. Because my peace comes first. It has to be. It has to be. I want to be able to live as long as I can. If I'm
Okay.
gonna have somebody around me that is only gonna drain my life energy, I'm not gonna live long. I don't want that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Ramon, for stopping in. We're not gonna have a backstage tonight, obviously, because I need to get some sleep.
Oh no, me
Let me
too. Me too.
thank you
I
very much,
understand.
and of course, yeah. So if you're not done so, please subscribe to the intro to be very glad. far as this contest is concerned. My take on the whole thing. They do exist, these type of relationships, but you can say you have to love yourself to know when to get out of these relationships. In a toxic environment, it's not helping your mind, your mind being. I just want to let everybody know that this Saturday I'm doing 2 shows. I'm going to be doing an episode of Golden Sphere Folk at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And on Uncommon Sense at 6 o'clock, I'm going to be doing thing. And as always, I appreciate all the people who appeared on the chat, and I appreciate all the people who appear on the panel. So I just want to say thank you very much for all the love and support. And of course, Ramon, I always appreciate that you're able to drop by. Looking forward to when you do another live stream. I know it could be kind of hard since everybody seems to do the streams at the same time, but you just have to do what you can.
Sure thing. I appreciate you having me, Don Jose. Have a good one.
You too. Good night. So that being said, let's just be good to each other, and hopefully I'll catch all of you at a future episode of Cynical or Golden Spear Folk. So that being said, just want to say thank you very much. Take care and peace.